All right, my friends. So in this video, we're going to discuss how Git works. So before we start using Git, I want to explain the very basics of how Git works. All right, so the main thing we need to know about Git is repositories, okay? And you call it repo in short, or repos. So repos are containers for projects that you want to track with Git. For example, you could have a repo, which is an iOS project, and it's going to track that mobile app project for you, okay? So a repository can be local, which is stored on your computer, or remote, which is stored on some kind of online service, like GitHub. So we're going to cover remotes a bit later on, but for now we're going to focus on local repositories. So we can have as many repos on our computers as we want to for as many different projects as we want to be involved in. But see, one of the cool things is all of these different repos and projects are going to be tracked independently by Git. So basically, Git repo is a project folder in which Git is going to track the contents for us. For example, let's say we might have a folder on a computer called My Project, or whatever your project's called, and this project is going to be a repository folder, and this repository is being tracked by this .git file. This .git file says that this is a repository right here, right? Because this is at the root level of this project, it means that Git is going to track the changes to any file in this folder, even files and subfolders. So if this .git file was not in the root, but instead in this image folder, let's say, it would only track the changes of this image folder. So it wouldn't be a repository. So now this project file is at the root and the whole thing is a repository. And it's going to track changes to every single file. So if we change this index.js file or image.png file, Git will recognize that and track all those changes. All right. Okay, so let me show you another thing that we'll need to know about Git, and that is called commits. So commits are a bit like save points, right, when you're playing a game. You can create some save points for your projects, save your files at those points, and at some point in time, if you need to, you can always go back to that point and see the saved version of those files at that save point. Now you can create as many different save files and then return to different save files that you want to at any given point. Commits are a little bit like that in, well, just simplistically, in the most basic form. For instance, let's say we have 3 commits right here. So for example, we're starting a project and we're going to build HTML for our project. So at one point we finish a header. Okay, and we say, all right, this is the logical point to create a commit or save point. So we're going to commit our code and files at that particular time to the commit history. So you can think of commit, which we implemented the header of the page right here. You can think of this as some kind of save point. So then right after that, we might start on a cider of the page and finish that. And right after that, we'll say, yeah, this is another logical save point. And that way we can track the project progress. So here's another commit. We'll make it after finishing the cider of the project. And, you know, it just goes on and so forth. So you just have to remember that. So these are all different commits in the commit history within our repository. So we have 4 commits in here right now. So the best thing is if we want to go back to the 3rd commit or the 2nd commit, we can go back to one of these save points and see what the code is like here. And guess what? You can do all that just by using Git. We can roll back the code to any different commit in it, right here in this commit history. So it's tracking our different revisions of the code as we go along and as we remember to commit. So by working with Git, it's kind of hard for us to lose our progress and our work because we can always go back and see where we've come from, all the project's progress bit by bit. All right, now, before creating a repo, I want to talk about these 3 different stages here. Okay, so we've got our project folder right here, and we want to make some changes. So let's say we have changed the index.js file. Right, then so those changes are going to go into the modified stage right here. Now they're modified, but they're not ready for committing yet. So we don't know whether we want to commit these files and create these save points or not. If we decide to commit, what we can do is we can add this file into the staging area. So that means we are saying to Git that we want to commit the changes in index.js file, and we want those to be included in the commit. So for instance, we're in the modified stage, and we want to change both of these files, and we want to stage these. We want to add them to the staging area. Then both of those files are in the staging area. So when we create a commit, those files, those changes are going to be committed, and then a snapshot of those files going to be added into the commit history. All right, so that's pretty much how Git works in repositories. So that means that these stick right here, okay? That the commits are, well, all the commits that are on this right here, that's why we call it a branch. So when we begin a repository in the most basic form, we have one branch, which is the master branch. So then in the next lessons, we're going to talk about creating additional branches and why that's important. We're going to create different branches from the master and then merge back later on. Okay, you'll see why that's important. So that means we can work on our new features without altering the master branch code. So yeah, we're going to cover all of that a little bit later, but that's pretty much the basics of how Git works. And we will pause right here and we'll come back in the next lesson.